Hello and welcome to Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannon. Today I'm going to go over chapter 4 of my newest book, God and Our Superdeterministic Universe, the number one argument for the existence of God, which is available on Amazon Kindle. Chapter 4 is entitled The Demise of Eternal Cosmic Inflation. Under superdeterminism, whether God exists or not really comes down to one question. Does an infinite multiverse exist? And an infinite multiverse means an infinite number of universes actually are real. The problem is, if there's an infinite number of universes that are actually real, it leaves very little for a creator God to do. Now, that's not to say that God couldn't create an infinite number of universes. He could, but it's not great evidence that there's a God. It's actually much better evidence that an infinite number of universes have always existed. God would be an unnecessary assumption in that case, because you don't need to create an infinite number of universes if an infinite number of universes already exist and have always existed. So it leaves very little for God to do. The good news is there is no scientific proof that an infinite multiverse exists. Moreover, it's impossible to even prove the existence of an infinite multiverse because you would either have to leave this universe in order to prove the existence of another universe, and that would be a violation of the principle of conservation of energy and mass. That is, the energy and mass contained in your body would have to leave this universe to go to another universe, which physics doesn't allow that to happen. Not to mention the fact that in order to prove there's an infinite number of universes, you would have to travel to an infinite number of universes and prove that they exist, which could never happen because it's infinite, so there would always be another universe you haven't proven existed. Plus, you'd have to travel impossibly fast or impossibly far in order to prove the existence of any other universe, frankly, let alone an infinite number of them. So, a proof of an infinite multiverse is never going to happen. That doesn't mean it's not possible, but proof of it is never going to happen. Nevertheless, some clever physicist named Alan Guth came up with a theory why an infinite multiverse is real. It's called eternal cosmic inflation. And the good news is Dr. Hansen's version of superdeterminism demolishes this theory. And I'll explain where the theory comes from and how superdeterminism demolishes it. The theory of eternal cosmic inflation has its base in what's called the CMB, which is the cosmic microwave background. Now, we send satellites up to measure the entire temperature of the universe, and it created this CMB map. And what that map shows is that the distribution of energy is extremely uniform in the entire universe. And that creates a problem because why is it so uniform? The universe began as a Big Bang and it expanded into the universe we see today. But because the expansion is faster than you can get from one side to the other side of the universe, it presents a problem that how does matter on one side of the universe interact with matter on the other side of the universe in order to create this equilibrium state that we see in the CMB if the universe is expanding so fast that the matter over here will never interact with the matter over there? One answer to this question is the proposed inflationary epoch of the early universe. So, in the very, very early universe, at 10 to the negative 33 to 10 to the negative 32 seconds, It's proposed that the universe inflated extremely fast, and it's to explain this equilibrium seen in the CMB. Um, so when the universe was very tiny at this very early stage of its existence, the energy in the universe was still in contact with each other. And then it's claimed that the universe inflated very quickly. And because of that very quick inflation, the equilibrium that was seen in that tiny early universe was spread out to the rest of the universe, the rest of space. And that's the explanation for the fairly equal distribution of energy seen in the CMB. However, there's nothing in the universe that we ever see that inflates that fast. So this requires new physics. The inflationary epoch requires new physics. And because of that, something called the inflaton field was proposed. So there's this hypothetical inflaton quantum field with the ability to inflate like that very very quickly, and because this supposedly exists, the it has a supposedly every quantum field has a particle associated with it. So the particle name given is the inflaton, and it's proposed that the inflaton decays. And when it decays, it creates what we see as our universe, a hot Big Bang with the matter and energy that we see, which is really a decayed inflaton from the inflaton field. So, this whole theory of the inflaton field is the root of eternal cosmic inflation. And the reason is because the inflaton field inflates faster than it decays. So it inflates and it decays, and the decay creates universes. But because it inflates faster than it decays, there's always more inflaton field to decay to make more universes. So you end up with an infinite number of universes being created by the inflaton field. So it's the ultimate free lunch in physics. Now, the inflaton field and the inflaton have never been proven to exist. And they can't be, because they can't exist in our universe in order for us to see them, because our universe is already a decayed inflaton, which means by definition it's not here anymore. So you can't prove it's there. So this is all hypothetical physics based on an explanation of why the CMB looks like there's such an equal distribution of energy in the universe. Um, so Dr. Hanson's version of superdeterminism puts an end to this idea of eternal cosmic inflation. Why is that? Well, first, Dr. Hanson proved that temporal causation is not real. This means that there is no reason to believe there's some sort of metaphysical continuous causative force of nature that could churn out an infinite number of new universes. Uh, so if you think there's this continuous causative force of nature, you might say, well, why would that ever stop? One could presume it always exists. Therefore, you could think, well, it could churn out an infinite number of universes. But because temporal causation is not real, then this continuous causative force of nature isn't real either. Can't be. So there's no reason to think there is such a force and that it would create an infinite number of universes. The second thing superdeterminism says about eternal cosmic inflation is that because the universe is generally strictly deterministic, then an infinite Future would require that past moments contain infinite information necessary to strictly determine that infinite future. So, eternal cosmic inflation says there's an infinite multiverse, which means there's an infinite future in that multiverse. But superdeterminism says that things are mostly strictly deterministic, which means a past moment has to account for an infinite future history, which means that that past moment, in order to strictly determine it, which means that past moment has to contain infinite information in order to strictly determine an infinite future. I'll give you an analogy. Think of an archer and an arrow. If the target is 10 feet away and the archer pulls back the arrow, there's a certain amount of precision the archer has to make in order to hit the bullseye of that target 10 feet away. Now imagine if the target's 30 feet away and the archer takes the arrow back. Now the archer has to exhibit even more precision in order to hit that target 30 feet away. Well, imagine the target's an infinite distance away. Now the archer has to have infinite precision in order to hit that bullseye an infinite distance away. In other words, if the mechanism producing an infinite result in terms of distance away, that mechanism has to contain infinite information in order to do that, infinite precision in order to do that. Uh, for example, let's say you're looking to hit a target and there's only 4 boxes it could be in. So you want to hit this target. Well, there's only 4 boxes here. So the precision is only consists of 4 possible targets, 4 possible areas. But what if you want to do more precision than this? You want to hit this more precise area. Well, now you got more boxes. So it requires more precision. That's more information. There's more boxes than here. That's more information. And let's say you want to get even more precise. So the more precision that you require, here you have 64 boxes. The more information that the more information is required in your precision in order to hit that more precise target. So when you're shooting an arrow an infinite distance away to hit a bullseye, you have to have infinite precision as the archer in order to hit your target. Because the number of boxes just increases infinitely, it requires infinite precision or infinite information. So when you're talking about a future that is strictly determined, but it's an infinite future, that means the past has to contain infinite information to be precise enough to hit that infinite future. That means that physical reality would have to support infinite information density in order for eternal cosmic inflation to exist in a generally strictly deterministic universe under superdeterminism. Well, physical reality does not support infinite information density. There's something known as the Planck scale. And the Planck scale is the smallest anything can get and still be meaningful, but it's finite, it's not infinite. So physics already knows things do not get infinitely small and still remain meaningful. There's a limit. The universe is finite in terms of how much information it can contain. It has finite information density, whereas eternal cosmic inflation under superdeterminism would require infinite information density. Well, infinite information density doesn't exist due to the Planck scale. Therefore, eternal cosmic inflation is not possible under superdeterminism. Now, um, the physicists who use eternal cosmic inflation would say, well, we're tapping into the wave function. And the wave function, since it's a metaphysical mathematical entity, could theoretically have or hold infinite information because mathematics is infinite. It's not a physical reality. But Dr. Hansen proved that temporal causation is not real, which means the wave function isn't real because the wave function can't actually cause anything because temporal causation is not real. Therefore, the wave function isn't real. Why would you believe in the existence of something that can't actually cause anything to make you believe it exists? So, because of Dr. Hansen, eternal cosmic inflation can't tap into the infinities of a wave function because it doesn't exist. The wave function doesn't exist. So, Dr. Hansen's version of superdeterminism destroys eternal cosmic inflation, which means this theory of why an infinite multiverse exists is wrong. And Dr. Hansen's version of superdeterminism proves it. Um, so the end result is there is no scientific evidence of an infinite multiverse. There never will be, and even the physics theories that claim an infinite multiverse is real are disproven by Dr. Hansen's version of superdeterminism. So the infinite multiverse isn't real, can't be real, and therefore it doesn't essentially disprove the existence of God. Now, my next video, I'm going to talk about chapter 5, and chapter 5 delves into the issues and problems that occur in an infinite or very large multiverse. And that chapter is called The Multiverse of Madness. So stay tuned. That's coming. I hope you learned something, and take care.